After my wife died, I kicked her son, who wasn't my own flesh and blood, out of the house. 10 years later, a truth came to light that shattered me. I threw his worn-out bag on the floor and stared at the quiet 12-year-old. Away, you're not my son, my wife is gone, I have no reason to continue caring for you. Didn't cry. He didn't beg, he lifted the bag with its broken strap, lowered his head and walked out without a word. This is a true story about stepfather regret and an abandoned stepson. My wife died of a stroke and left me with a boy who wasn't mine. I was his stepfather in name only, and I hid behind that title. I told myself duty counted as love. It didn't. He was always polite, quiet, distant. I made myself colder to feel nothing at all. A month after the funeral, I pushed him out for good. I sold the house, changed my life, and told myself I had moved on. Years passed and I treated the past like a burned photo. Work got better. I met someone new, no kids, no ties, no questions. I told myself that was peace. Then on an ordinary weekday my phone rang. A calm voice asked me to come to an art gallery opening. I was about to hang up when the caller said, steady and low, "Do you want to know what happened to the boy you abandoned all those years ago?" Grief and pride made me send him away. Grief made me mean. Pride made me cert. I told myself I was acting like a grown man who knew what he was doing. I told myself endings should be clean. I did not want to see my dead wife in his face. I did not want to be reminded that what we had started with a secret and a choice I once pretended did not hurt. I thought I was keeping order while my life spun. In truth, I was just pushing everything soft and human out the door so nothing could touch me. Why I pushed him away after the funeral, the house did not breathe. It sat heavy with flowers that were already wilting. I could still hear the kettle whistle from the last time she used it. I could still see her scarf on the chair back. Every room felt like a museum where the guide had quit halfway. The days after the funeral had a strange rhythm. People called, then stopped. Food came, then ran out. Neighbors waved, then avoided eye contact. He moved quietly from room to room, folding napkins like a little waiter, and I hated that I noticed. I used a cold logic that felt clean on paper. It helped me sleep a little. It made my decisions feel sharp, not cruel. He was not my blood, so I told myself I owed nothing. He had family somewhere, even if I had never asked who. He was 12, old enough to know how to find help, or so I claimed. I was not equipped, and I made that sound like a responsible choice. I needed space, as if space would sell the grief and sweep the floor for me. I dressed it up as adult thinking. It was pride. It was fear wearing a suit. I did not want to be needed by someone who reminded me of a woman I could not bring back. I hauled my guilt into the attic, box by box, and I locked the door. The day I told a child to leave, the air was dry, like a room that had never known rain. Afternoon light slid across the floor and caught the dust, little flecks that looked like snow that forgot how to fall. His bag sat near the doorway, a tired canvas thing with a broken strap hanging like a thin arm. The zipper teeth were bent. I could see a rolled t-shirt peeking out, gray and soft from too many washes. He stood with his hands at his sides, palms open. His eyes were quiet, not blank, just quiet, like a pond with no wind. He watched my mouth, not my face. I said clear and flat that he needed to go. I said I was done. My voice sounded like a hallway with the lights off. No shake, no warmth. He did not cry, he did not beg. He shifted the bag up and the strap slipped off his shoulder and thumped the floor. That soft thud is the sound I still hear in my sleep. He crouched, lifted it again with both hands, and held the torn strap in his fist like it might pretend to work if he was careful. His shoes scraped the tile. The door latch clicked. The air changed when it opened, a colder breath from outside. He looked at me one time, not seeking mercy, not asking a single thing. Then he put his head down and stepped over the threshold. No slam, no scene, just silence swallowing him as he left. A new life with no kids, no ties. I sold the old house. The realtor said the kitchen would show well. I boxed up our life and left her scarf in a donation bin without looking at it. Keys changed hands. The porch light that once welcomed us was someone else's now. I moved across town and learned the route to a different grocery store. New neighbors had loud dogs. No one knew my past. I liked that. I told myself starting over meant I was brave. I dated again. We met in bright places and I made sure kids never came up, at least not mine. I paid bills on time. I set up a new sofa that did not remind me of old fights in winter movies. Friends said I looked lighter. It felt like freedom if you only listened to the surface. Beneath that, it rang hollow. Rooms were neat but had no echo of laughter. I could stretch out in bed, but I woke at 3 a.m. with a feeling like I had left the stove on, except it was not the stove. It was the past, buzzing low, refusing to power down. Life improved on paper. Work was steady. My phone stayed busy. Smiles came easier in photos. Inside, I lived like a man who kept the TV on for company and the volume low so the house would not feel like it was judging him. Silence made me think he was gone for good. For a while I checked local news, but not for him by name. I skimmed missing posters at the store and felt nothing land. Curiosity visited sometimes, then stayed away longer each time. The mind loves to move on if you give it a sturdy excuse. I told myself I did not care. I mastered that line. I used it like a small shield when anyone asked if I had kids. I said no. I said it fast, like ripping tape. A thought lodged in me, sharp and secret. If he had died, maybe it was easier. That idea made the days smoother. It let me close the book and shelve it. No jacket, no blurb, no author photo. I hated that thought, yet I held it. It was clean. It required no action, no apology. Silence approved my story. No calls, no knocks, no letters. I pictured him somewhere far, a blur at a bus stop. Then I let the image fade like a radio station you drive out of range. By year 5, his face felt like a sketch. By year 8, it felt like a rumor. By year 10, I was sure the past had sealed, tight as a jar. That is when the phone rang and a stranger's voice asked if I wanted to know what happened to the boy. I turned away. The jar cracked the moment I heard those words. 10 years later, an art gallery call changed everything. That phone call hit me like a punch I never saw coming. 10 years of silence, and now the stranger on the line pulls me right back into the mess I thought I had buried. My hand froze on the receiver. The voice waited, patient but firm. I could almost hear the boy's face in those words, the one I sent packing without a second thought. The phone call that pulled me back. The line crackled just a bit. Do you want to know what happened to the boy you abandoned all those years ago? Those words hung there. I gripped the phone tighter. My mouth went dry. Part of me wanted to slam it down. End it right there. But another part, the one I had ignored for a decade, tugged hard. What if he was dead? What if he needed something? I paused. Breathed out slow. Tell me where, I said. The address came quick, an art gallery downtown, Saturday night. I hung up. Sat there staring at the wall. My heart pounded. I had no choice. I had to go. Why I went to the gallery, pride pushed me first. I told myself I deserved answers after all this time. No loose ends in my life, but fear crept in too, cold and sharp. What if this was a trap? What if he hated me enough to drag me there just to watch me squirm? In curiosity, that sneaky pull whispered the loudest. Where had he been? How did he turn out? I paced my kitchen that night, stared at the clock. I did not know any artists, never set foot in a gallery. That made it all stranger. Who invites a guy like me to a place full of paintings and polite chatter? My mind raced with questions. Still, I dressed up a bit, grabbed my keys, drove over, windows down, letting the night air cool my nerves. Deep down, I knew this could crack open everything I had built, paintings that used my cruel words. The gallery buzzed with soft voices and clinking glasses. White walls glowed under spotlights. I wandered in, feeling out of place among the crowd in their sharp outfits. Then I saw them. The paintings hit me square in the chest. One piece loomed large, bold letters splashed across a dark canvas. Go away, you're not my son. My exact words thrown at a kid like trash. Another showed a faded house door cracked open with script below. I don't care if you live or die. The colors bled red and gray like wounds that never healed. I stood frozen. People milled around, nodding at the art. They saw beauty or pain. I saw my voice captured and thrown back. The room closed in. Each quote pulled me deeper into what I did. No escape. I faced the man I was, the cold choices I made. Sweat beaded on my neck. How did he know? How did he turn my hate into this? We met again, man to man. He stepped out from the shadows near the back wall. Taller now, broad shoulders under a simple black shirt. No trace of the quiet boy I remembered. His eyes locked on mine, steady as stone. No fire, no yell, just calm control that made my stomach twist. He nodded once. Extended a hand. I shook it, my palm clammy against his firm grip. Good to see you, he said, voice even and clear. No edge, no blame in the tone, but those eyes held everything. Years of questions maybe, or just quiet strength. We stood there a moment, the crowd fatting to noise. Then he gestured with his head. We stepped into a quiet corner, away from the lights and stares. The truth that broke me, a letter and a DNA test. We stood in that quiet corner of the gallery, the hum of voices fatting behind us. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a plain envelope, yellowed at the edges. My wife's handwriting stared back at me from the front, sealed for 10 years. He handed it over without a word. Then he slid another item across a small table, a printed DNA report, crisp and official. My world tilted right there. What came next ripped open secrets I never saw coming. Her sealed letter finally opened. I tore open the envelope with shaky fingers. The paper inside felt thin, like it held years of weight. Her words started simple, pulling me back to how we met. She wrote about that rainy afternoon in the coffee shop. I spilled my drink on her table and she laughed instead of getting mad. We talked for hours. She fell for my steady ways, the way I listened without pushing. But she skipped the hard parts at first. Months in, she told me about the pregnancy. It came from a short fling before me with a guy who vanished when she needed him most. She raised the boy alone, scraping by with 2 jobs and nights too tired to cry. Why hide the full truth? She explained it clear. She worried I'd bolt if I knew the baby tied her to someone else. At 26 she craved a fresh start, a family without old shadows. So she let me think the boy came from a vague past, nothing more. She hoped time would build our bond, make me see him as mine. The last lines hit hardest. She hoped if the truth ever spilled out I'd choose love over anger. She'd seen my heart, the quiet kindness under my rough edges. She prayed I'd embrace him, blood or not, because family came from choice, not just genes. Tears blurred the ink as I read. All this time she carried that fear alone, the DNA test I could not deny. He watched me fold the letter, then pointed to the report. I scanned the top line. The result jumped out, 99.9% match. Biological father, no doubt, no error. My knees buckled. I grabbed the table edge to stay up. Hands shook so bad the paper rattled. The room spun slow, walls blurring into streaks of light and color. Breath came short, like I'd run a mile in the cold. This boy, the one I tossed out, shared my blood. Everything I built on lies crumbled in seconds. Why she kept the secret and he kept quiet. She chose silence to protect us both. In the letter, she laid it out. Telling me back then could wreck my trust, maybe end us before we started. She feared I'd see the boy as a reminder of her past, a crack in our new life. For him, she wanted steady ground, a dad figure without the mess of half-truths. Stability mattered more than drama. She banked on my growing love to bridge the gap. He stayed quiet for his own reasons, ones he shared right there in the gallery. At 12 he pieced it together from whispers and old photos. Hurt him deep, but he bottled it up. He hit the streets, bounced through foster spots, then clawed his way to college on scholarships and grit. No handouts. He built a life and art career that paid off. Coming to me now, he did it clean, no baggage, wanted to stand tall, share the facts without asking for scraps. Proved he needed nothing but the air between us. He came for closure, not money. Success marked his path these 10 years. Galleries hung his work, shows sold out. He owned a small studio downtown, the kind that buzzed with real talent. No sob story, just hard-won wins. Money never crossed his mind. He made that clear from the start. No claims on my wallet, no demands for back pay. This visit aimed straight at truth. He wanted me to hold that letter, read those results, see the man I missed raising. Closure meant facing the past, owning the choices. Not a dime changed hands, just eyes meeting, stories traded, and a door cracking open to what could still mend. Apology, boundaries, and what being a father really means, standing there in that gallery corner. With the letter crumpled in my fist and the DNA results burning a hole in my pocket, I knew words alone could not fix a decade of damage, but I had to try. The boy, now a man, deserved to hear me own what I did. No excuses, just the raw truth of my regret. What followed tested my patience and forced me to rethink every idea I held about family. I said sorry, but it was late. I looked him in the eye, my voice barely above a whisper. I abandoned you when you needed someone most. I chose my pain over your safety, told you to leave like you meant nothing. That was my decision, cold and selfish, and it hurt you deep. I'm sorry for the home you lost, the stability I stole, the father figure I never became. I know this changes nothing right away, I just needed you to hear it from me. Those words hung heavy between us. I kept my head down after, no plea for quick pardon. Humility meant accepting the silence that followed. He nodded once, face unreadable, and that small gesture felt like the first crack in a wall I built myself. His rules and the boundary he set. He spoke next, clear and firm, laying out his terms without anger. No drama, just facts. He made it plain this reunion stayed private. I could not post about it online, share photos, or turn our story into some public spectacle. No surprise visits to his studio or home. And above all, no pushing for closeness on my schedule. If we built anything real, it moved at his pace. He controlled the steps, the calls, the meetings. Years of fending for himself taught him to guard his space. I agreed without hesitation. Respecting his lines showed I finally put him first. What I did next to make amends. Actions mattered more than promises, so I started small and consistent. First, I found a therapist who specialized in family regrets. Sessions twice a week helped me unpack the grief and pride that blinded me back then. No shortcuts, just honest work on becoming a better man. I wrote letters too, sealed them in envelopes addressed to him. One for each year we lost, sharing memories of his mom and admitting my failures. I dropped them at his gallery with a note, read them if and when you want, or burn them. No reply expected. Then I made a quiet donation to a youth shelter in his city, enough to fund meals and counseling for kids like he once was. Anonymous, no fanfare. These steps built trust slowly without demands. Pressure had no place here. If you are a step-parent, please read this. Hey, if you're raising a child who's not your blood, listen up. Pride can whisper lies that lead to choices you'll hate later. Do not let it steer you. Pick care every time, even when it hurts. Build bonds from the heart, not just duty. If you've wounded someone along the way, own it today. Say the words, make the changes. A real family heals through effort, not perfection. Your kid deserves that chance. Give it now before time slips away. Conclusion. 10 years after that door clicked shut behind a silent boy, the truth hit like a storm I never saw coming. This true story ending still echoes in my quiet moments, a mix of sharp pain from the years lost and a fragile hope blooming from our first real talk. I abandoned him, thinking blood defined family, only to learn it was all a lie. His art, that letter, the DNA results, they stripped away my excuses and forced me to face the man I became without him. Now, as we navigate forgiveness and boundaries, I see the lessons clear for any step-parent walking this path. Healing demands time and respect, not rushed fixes. He sets the pace and I follow, proving through small acts that regret can turn to repair. Love isn't born from genes or obligation. It's a choice you prove with steady care, day by day, even when it stings. If you're in a blended family, don't wait for a shattering reveal. Choose care today, build those bonds before silence grows too loud. Reach out, set honest limits, and let trust grow slow. Who needs your call tonight?